You just cannot allow this to continue. This isn't a protest. This is about as close to a coup attempt that the country's ever gotten to. You got a very weak guy sitting down there at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I won't call him president because, in my opinion, he's not a president. I don't know what the hell he is, but he sure ain't my leader. And he's inciting all this. And then you got other people who are really egging it on by doing what they're doing. I mean, this is crazy. It's absolutely insane. And someone's got to take control. It's not going to be the guy sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania, but somebody's got to take control and deal with this situation because it's going to get worse. It will not get better on its own.
Yeah, it's really worrisome indeed. John King is with us, Chief Ramsey. I'll get back to you. But John, the president earlier in the day was basically telling these individuals, walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, head to Capitol Hill. We got to get tough, basically. That was his message, and we heard even stronger words from his so-called lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
Right, and other allies of the president have talked about holding the Republicans who will not stand up and help the president push his baseless, reckless, just false claims of election fraud. And so this environment was created by the president and his allies. Now, they will say they didn't tell anyone to climb through the Capitol windows. They didn't tell anyone to break into the Speaker's office. They didn't tell anyone to break into the chambers. They will say that, but they encouraged this climate and they incited it. The president at one point today even saying he wanted to walk with them. Of course, he did not. That's what he does. He says things and then leaves it to others to do it. But so now you're in the leadership test challenge. And Wolf, to follow on your conversation with Chief Ramsey, I've been texting with a member of the Democratic leadership on Capitol Hill. And to the chief's point, there's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, and a lot of questions about how this happened, about how the building was breached, about how they got to sit in the president's seat in the Senate, the presiding officer's seat in the Senate, about how somebody got into Speaker Pelosi's office and left a note. And what I was told was that the Capitol Police right now say, yes, they understand a lot of questions to answer, that in the moment they were overwhelmed and they made a decision to put a priority on the safety of the lawmakers and the staff, to get them to safe locations, understanding that that would mean that you're leaving offices unprotected, you're leaving entrances unprotected in some cases, and that they would deal with that after the fact. And now you see in these pictures, you know, the cavalry, if you will, has arrived. But there will be a lot of questions here, especially with the inauguration 2 weeks away.
You know, it's interesting, John, the Republican National Committee offices, the headquarters right near Capitol Hill, just like the Democratic National Committee. They have their offices right near Capitol Hill. We're just now being told by our Dan Marica and Mike Warren that the headquarters of the RNC was cleared after a suspicious device was found nearby. And the Democratic National Committee building was also evacuated after another suspicious package was being investigated. So this is really an expanding and very worrisome development that's unfolding.
Right, and without a doubt, not everybody there had any intention of anything like this, but they were there and part of it, and we're clearly here. You see, again, these are supporters of the president leaving alleged pipe bombs outside the offices of the Republican National Committee. So not a lot of thought going into this, and I'm being very polite. I could use much stronger words. So you have thugs here, knuckleheads, terrorists, criminals doing things. And again, there will be a lot of questions. How did this happen? Who was involved? I think it's a very fair question. And we'll know, I'm sure some people have been arrested and we haven't seen it yet, people on the inside. But what has been done to send a statement from law enforcement will be a very big question after this. And then there'll be longer term questions about, forgive my language, Wolf, but how the hell did this happen? This protest was not a secret. It was publicly announced. And the Capitol Police clearly did not believe that there was a threat to the building. And we have watched it played out. There was a very serious and significant threat to the building at a time the entire United States Congress was in there, again, including the Vice President of the United States and the Vice President-elect of the United States, the Speaker of the House, the Senate Majority Leader, and so on and so forth. So there are going to be giant questions about how this happened, the challenge now. And as you see, as Brian Todd noted, they have come down to the bottom of the steps now. They're slowly starting to move them away. Hopefully that happens without violence, but there'll be a lot of questions. We have a ton of questions now, and there will be more and more as we learn more.
You know, I'm just anxious to get your reaction. The president tweeted a little video that he filmed just outside the Oval Office over there, and among other things, once again, he repeated a lie. He said the election was stolen. He said he won a landslide election, which was, of course, another lie. But then he told these rioters, he said, so go home. We love you. You're very special. Very special. What was your reaction when you heard that?
Again, this is a consistent failure of leadership from this president to step up at moments of crisis and at moments when he needs to challenge his own supporters and tell them to behave and pay attention. So what does he say? Again, there were good people on both sides in Charlottesville. No, there were not. The QAnon conspiracy theorists are quackpots. The president refuses to criticize them because they support him. Here, in that video, yes, he said, please go home. That is a good thing. That was necessary. But all around it, before it, after it, sprinkled in with it, was continuing to say the election was stolen, we were defrauded, I know why you're mad, I'm supporting you. You cannot take one log off the fire and then pour a barrel of gasoline on the fire. That does not solve the problem. It may have given temporary respite to any of these protesters who maybe saw on their phone the president tweeted to go home. Maybe it was part of some of the people starting to go home. Maybe it's just the hour of the day. We don't know that. But that is not the answer. And again, we've watched this from the president consistently. He will say when he's questioned about this, I did tell them to go home. And when he's challenged on the fraud part, he'll shrug and find some reason to distract or cause some other thing. But he lost the election. He lost the election. That is not in dispute. He had several opportunities, more than 60, to make his case the way we do it here in the United States, in a court of law, where you are challenged to present evidence. And it's not just the Democrats saying this today. So to the Trump supporters out there, this is not repeating what the Democrats said. Judge after judge after judge after judge after judge, many of them Republicans, several of them Donald Trump appointees said, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, you have brought me zero credible evidence. Go away. This is over. The president needs to tell these people right there, it's over. Go home. Organize for the next election. Don't do this.
Yeah, it's so incredibly important. It looks, Brian Todd, like they're beginning to clear these individuals. They're beginning to tell them, you better get out of here. You better leave now, otherwise you're going to be arrested.
That's right, Wolf. We can kind of take you in a little bit here. I'll walk toward it a little bit. Riot police just kind of came to the foot of the steps and moved more rioters off the steps. So the rioters are pretty much completely cleared off the steps. These police that are in the green jackets kind of came and started lining the steps, and they're starting to push, excuse me, just have to walk around some people here, apologize for that. They're starting to push some of the perimeter here a little bit back toward 1st Street Northeast. So this is an area that was packed a short time ago, people lining the steps, on the balcony, on top of the cars. I got to say, most of them left on their own, Wolf. They were not pushed off in any forceful way by the police. The remnants of them that were there were walked down the stairs by about maybe 12, 13, 14 riot police that just kind of gently walked them down the stairs. Now, you do have, and Eddie, let's go over here to your right. You do have a little bit of a larger crowd over there by the north side of the Senate side of the Capitol, where we saw smoke grenades going off and the crowd kind of pushed back that way a short time ago. But it looks like that has calmed down as well. So, you know, we could see a calming of the situation here on the east side of the Capitol. We're also monitoring the situation on the west side of the Capitol, where it was very, very tense earlier today, as it was here. You know, we're standing in an area right now that was, when we got here this morning, it was barricaded off completely. You couldn't, I mean, there were police all over the place. There were bike rack barricades. There were several other barricades. And you got the sense that you just couldn't penetrate it. But, you know, clearly the rioters took control. The police were overwhelmed. The police pushed back. And you saw the chaos ensue inside the building and all of that. So right now, control. But I do have to tell you that most of that is due to the rioters leaving, most of them on their own, Wolf.
Yeah, let's see what happens. These next few hours are going to be critically important. Only about 50 minutes until the D.C. curfew goes into effect, the 12-hour curfew from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Nobody's supposed to be out on the streets unless they have the complete authorization from the mayor herself. Pete Montine, you're still up there. As well, a different location. Tell us what you're seeing.
Well, Wolf, this is not a protest, as others have mentioned. This is a mob. You know, we heard from President Trump earlier, but this mob essentially destroy it, using their fists, trying to dismantle the First Amendment coverage of what is happening here. It's ironic because the First Amendment protects us, but it also protects what the protesters here are doing. Not a protest anymore. At times, this is turning relatively violent. We have seen the movement of police not too long ago here. This is the Metropolitan Police Department of D.C., but we have yet to see the National Guard here. We have heard from D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser that the National Guard is on its way, and that state police from Maryland and Virginia will also be coming here to help. But I have to tell you that police are way outnumbered here by this pro-Trump group that essentially has taken over the Capitol. There is more police presence ramping up here as night falls on Washington, but this group seems to be in it for the long haul, and it seems like this will last well after sunset. Wolf?
Do we know, Pete, if there are still any of these rioters roaming around inside the House or the Senate, the U.S. Capitol, as we saw these ugly pictures emerge over the past couple hours?
I cannot speak to that, Wolf. There are plenty of people still outside here tonight, and I'm sure plenty of people would like to be inside, especially considering the fact it's going to be 30 degrees in Washington tonight. This is not going to be easy for the folks who are out here, but frankly, they shouldn't be here. This is a spot where you can't be as an everyday person, as a civilian. This is a spot that's very closed down, just above the Capitol Visitor Center. The east side of the Capitol and the steps here is a spot that the public would never be on, not even for special events. This is a spot that is very, very, very locked down, and folks are still here after nightfall in Washington.
Yeah, and there's still a coronavirus going on. Nobody's supposed to be inside the U.S. Capitol, but they broke windows and they entered into that building. Donnie O'Sullivan, CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan, is also on the scene for us. Where are you, Donnie? And tell us what's going on.
We're at the west side here of the U.S. Capitol, and people are streaming out of the grounds of the Capitol. And we've been asking them if they're proud of what's happened today, and most of them say they are. They view themselves as patriots, these Trump supporters. And when I asked them what they thought they were achieving by being here, by doing all of this violence, they said that they wanted to win back the election. And some of them are still living in this alternate reality, this alternate universe, where they believe that Joe Biden is not going to be inaugurated up on that rising in just 2 weeks' time. And Wolf, there is a sense here on the ground that it isn't over in terms of both trying to overturn the election, which is obviously a fantasy, but also that there could be more trouble to come here in Washington tonight. My producer overheard somebody saying as we were walking in here, it's going to get real tonight. Wolf?
Yeah, I suspect, Donnie, it's going to get even more intense in the next few days as we get closer and closer to the January 20th inauguration of the next president of the United States, Joe Biden. Alex Marquardt, you're getting some more information. Update our viewers.
Well, Wolf, we've moved back a little bit because since we spoke to you last, a large crowd of these rioters, a mob of them, descended on the press area where we were. I believe that was the area that our colleague Pete Montine was talking about. Clearly not fans of the way that we have been depicting them, which is a mob of violent rioters. And so now the question becomes, when does law enforcement go in and clear this area? It has just been a surreal afternoon watching this crowd go in and get into the Capitol building. So what we've seen over the course of the past couple hours is different kinds of law enforcement gathering around the Capitol. What you're seeing right here is Metropolitan Police Department, so Washington Police. As you've been noting, Wolf, we are under an hour now from the curfew. It is not clear whether they plan on going in and helping clear out those rioters before the curfew, but that is certainly what we have seen in the past when there has been a curfew in this city. Now, there has been a steady stream of rioters coming from this northern side of the Capitol building, where they have been gathering for most of the afternoon, but there is still a significant contingent of them. And as you've heard from our other colleagues, many have said that they plan to stay here. And as someone was just mentioning, that it may get real overnight. I want to point out some of these rioters who are coming out from here. These are, I believe, Oath Keepers. We have seen members of that far-right extremist group that supports the president out here this afternoon, shouting insults at us, at members of the press, shouting insults at members of law enforcement, of the police. Things have been relatively quiet for a little while now, but as I was saying to you in our last time we spoke, this is still very much a standoff. We have not seen law enforcement go in and clear them out. Rioters are still in there. Law enforcement on the outskirts, on the perimeter of the Capitol building. And we will see what happens as we get closer to this curfew at 6 p.m. In just under an hour's time. Look at this scene, Wolf, here. This is more what I believe is Metropolitan Police. These guys are very much in riot gear, as you can see, head to toe with protection, helmets on, batons at the ready. They are going down Delaware Avenue. And we understand that there is all sorts of coordination going on between local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, the Capitol law enforcement, to clear out these rioters from the Capitol building, Wolf.
And I assume it's only going to get more intense. We just got a statement from the acting defense secretary, Miller, saying he's had separate conversations with Vice President Pence, Speaker Pelosi, Leader McConnell, Senator Schumer, Representative Hoyer in the House of Representatives, and says this, let me read it. We have fully activated the D.C. National Guard to assist federal and local law enforcement as they work to peacefully address the situation. We are prepared to provide additional support as necessary and appropriate as requested by local authorities. And then adds with this, our people are sworn to defend the Constitution and our democratic form of government, and they will act accordingly. So we see Capitol Police, we see local police from D.C., police are coming in from Maryland and Virginia, and military personnel. National Guard troops are coming in as well. We're going to see a whole lot more troops coming in, not just today, but in the next 14 days as we all get ready for the presidential inauguration. Pamela, what else are you learning?
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you what we can't see inside the Capitol building right now, and that is law enforcement still clearing out the Capitol building as we speak. Who
Well, just an update on the state of mind of the president right now and the state of mind of staffers inside the White House who are shell-shocked by some of these events up on Capitol Hill. I talked to a White House official just a short time ago who said, you know, before the president released that video, before the president made the decision to call on the National Guard, aides to the president had to go to the president in the Oval Office and almost beg him to make these decisions, to beg him to make that video, to record that video, and also to make this decision to call in the National Guard. Why is that important? Because this president is going to be in charge, presumably, for the next 14 days. And if the president can only throw gasoline on the fire, it is going to be up to the skeletal staff that he has left over here at the White House to go to the president and get him to try to do the right thing from time to time. I think that is a worrying development. The other thing I heard from a source familiar with some of the discussions over here is that White House staffers are just horrified by what is going on up on Capitol Hill. But, Wolf, that begs another question. It begs the question, I think we're at a critical stage now, given what we've seen up on the Hill. Do we see resignations from White House staffers? Aren't we at a point now, Wolf, where we should see resignations from White House staffers? This scene that we saw up on the Hill today, the siege on the Capitol, should be enough, one would think, in a normal world, to prompt the resignation of staffers inside a White House, inside administration. Obviously, we haven't seen that at this point. But Wolf, you know, talking to another Trump advisor about this, do not expect the president to try to, you know, cool things down over the next 14 days. In the words of this advisor, the president is a, quote, provocateur. He is a, quote, entertainer. He is not a leader. He is not a president. And he's not going to behave like one for the next 14 days. So a lot of concerns over here at the White House among White House staffers.